As an author, you probably want to make more money inside of your business. And I use 5 different subscription programs that actually help me to make more money as an author. Now I'm going to break these down for you. Some of these are to automate and to systematize my business so that it does work for me while I'm busy writing novels or on vacation or whatever I want to do. And some of these are assets to allow me to be more creative, to allow me to create content faster, stronger, better, and to allow me to level up so that I can make more sales through the content I'm creating. So I will list all of these down below. Most of these are affiliate links, meaning the companies that are going to be making the money from you if you buy these subscriptions will be giving me a cut of what they are making. So it's not out of your pocket, it's from them. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't want a big corporation to make money off of you, they have to give some of it to me, and that should make you feel a little bit better. So these are 5 of my favorite things to use as an author. The first of which is Sam's Cart. Now, I love Sam's Cart because they are my checkout cart. I use these to sell copies of my books. When I'm doing direct sales from my website or from my social media, I am using Sam Cart. I'm using Sam Cart to sell my courses, my PDFs, my ebooks. I am using them to sell digital and physical products, and it is an elite company. Now, I have a full playlist on how to do direct sales as an author so that you can click for click, button for button, sell your dang books and make more money. I will link that playlist for you down below as well. But Sam Cart is my checkout cart. They are radically different from Shopify and a bunch of those other places in that they allow you to do upsells and downsells. Meaning, if you are going to sell a book, you can say, hey, since you're already buying this book, do you also want to buy this thing? And this thing can be the second book in the series. It could be an attached novella prequel. It can be a swag, so like some cool pop Funko of your characters or character art or a poster or all sorts of things. And what happens is if you come to me and you try to buy my book, a little pop-up will say, hey, do you also want to add on the second book for $1 off? And they can say yes or no. And you don't have to say $1 off. It can be the normal price or it could be a specific sale price. So people can come and say, I want book 1 and book 2, and they don't get a deal. But you can, if they just buy book 1, say, hey, do you want it for just a little bit off? And see if you can make that extra sale. You can also say, do you want this piece of character art poster that you can hang on your wall for X amount of money? They can say yes or no. Based on whether they say yes or no, you can then send them through a series, a funnel of other things that they can choose from. And you can decide if it's just 1 item or like 5 items that you're asking them about. If they say, yes, I want to buy book 2, you might then go on to say, cool, do you also want book 3? And do you also want the prequel novella? And would you also like character art posters? And if they say yes to all those things, great, you just made extra money on book 2, 3, the novella, and the character art that you weren't going to make before. Especially if you do some kind of deal or like a bundle rate on it, it levels up the money that you can get and the value you're giving to your potential readers. If they say no, you can try to downgrade. So if I said, I see that you're buying book 1, do you also want book 2? And they say, I'm gonna wait. I can then say, great. Would you like to try a novella, a short story for $3 that is unrelated to this? And they can decide yes or no. It was a lower price. So I can do whatever I want. You can do whatever you want to go up and down with potential sales for as many as you want. I don't recommend going too deep into this. We don't want like 7 things in a row, but you can go through a couple different things to make a little extra money. And you can integrate it to your email list. So if you're doing digital things, if you're selling like ebooks, if you're selling, digital things that they can print out, you can set it up with your email service provider and deliver it without you having to touch anything, but you make extra money. There's so much you can do with this. Again, check out the full playlist on how to do direct sales. I have a ton of information and this is going to be really valuable to you, but my checkout cart is incredibly valuable. Now, the beauty of it is that they are not taking a cut of your sales. It is a flat rate for the month or a flat rate for the year. If you buy annual, obviously it's a little cheaper than if you do monthly, but it's a flat rate. You only pay that and you never have to pay more than that. So if you make hundreds of book sales in a month because you went viral on TikTok, they are not taking a cut. You only pay that flat rate. Now, if you don't meet that flat rate, okay, it's a little money out of your pocket, but you're not giving percentages of your sales. So as you're growing with this, as you're doing more, you are able to make more money because you're not giving them cuts of what you are selling. And there's so many ways to use it, so I cannot recommend it enough. It is really, really helpful to you. Now, another thing that I use that I just mentioned was my email service provider. My email service provider is going to allow me to send out my newsletter to people. You should be writing a weekly newsletter as an author, sending those out to people, talking about your books and the behind the scenes. I have tons of videos on how to do that here on the channel very easily. I know a lot of people feel stressed about their newsletter. It shouldn't be stressful, very easy for you to do, but you can connect that to your checkout cart. You can deliver freebies through your newsletter. You have so much that you can do through it, and I recommend ConvertKit. Most authors start really small. They start with like MailChimp or MailerLite, and they outgrow them so quickly. And I will tell you, as somebody who started out with MailChimp, I switched over to ConvertKit, and when I did, it was very stressful to take all those things over. Sometimes you can do like the automated version of transferring it over, but it's still kind of a problem, and then it's all messed up inside of the system. And I ended up sending out a newsletter to a bunch of people who I no longer meant to send newsletters to because they were on a different newsletter for my multiple businesses, and it was just a disaster. You sometimes have to pay people to help you with that. It is stressful and it's not good, and you outgrow those things so quickly. So I don't recommend you start with MailerLite or MailChimp or any of those weird little, I'm not going to pay you type things. It never serves the authors. ConvertKit is a really good place to start. They have tons of integrations, again, with your checkout cart. So even if you're not using something like Sam's Cart, you are going with one of the other things, you can integrate with a ton of those things. You can set up your automated welcome system. So when somebody signs on, you can deliver all those freebies day after day for the first couple of days. You have the ability to do some really cool integrations with your website and with the different things that you're doing. So ConvertKit is definitely a good place to start. It is what I recommend to my authors and to my entrepreneurs. You guys know I teach over on my main platform, youtube.com/KMRobinson, on how to do social media and run an online business and all of those things. That's the one I recommend to all of you, and that's where I have been happy. I have tried other things. I've helped authors to try other things. I do not recommend the other things. ConvertKit really truly is the place to be, and they're industry leaders. When changes happen, we recently had a big change happen where people had to actively make different decisions and go and do a bunch of different integrations and like tacky stuff. They not only informed us, they hosted a full webinar, a full like, you can come and see us for office hours. We will help you deal with all this stuff. They were so good about doing it and doing it quickly so that we had the ability to fix things without having to pull all of our hair out. It was such a stressful time, and they just handled it with so much grace and integrity and professionalism. It made it easier for us. So I cannot say enough good things about them. Now, you want to make sure that you are systematizing and automating your business. So with those two programs, I automate my book sales, everything except for the physical act of getting the book, signing the book, packaging the book, and mailing it. It handles everything else. All of my digital things, it handles. I don't have to do any of that. But then I can also automate so many other things inside of my business so I don't have to deal with it. That's why I get to go on vacation whenever I dang well please. That's why when an emergency happens, I can take days off of my business. And that's why I have more time to write my novel, because I don't have to run everything inside of my business because it's doing it for me. It is like having multiple paid employees, except I don't have to pay humans. I am paying my systems that I set up by myself very easily, and all I have to do is check in on them to make sure they're still working and update them every once in a while. There's stuff I haven't updated in forever that's still working and working to my benefit to bring in more sales. So this is a really important thing to have inside of your business to make sure that you are leveling up what you're doing. But we don't just systemate and automatize everything that we do. I also have subscriptions that work with creative assets that allow me to save time and effort creating my content and creating better, higher quality content that allow me to level up what I am creating so that I can bring in more money and have more time and get more visual representation for myself on the internet, all of those things. The first program is Epidemic Sound. This is a program that allows me to get audios for the videos that I am creating. So this is music, this is sound effects. These are things that I am using on my TikToks, on my Instagram Reels, on my YouTube videos, in potentially some audiobooks, in things that I am doing to market myself online. And this is part of a subscription. So again, you can get the monthly, you can get the annual, and anything that you're creating within the context of that subscription is clear. Meaning, If I had a subscription in January, it's not January, but let's pretend it is. If I have a subscription in January and I make a video and I put it out on the internet in January, and then I cancel in February, that video is clear because it was created and uploaded to the internet in January. Now, if I hang on to that video or I try to repost that video at another point in time, now it's no longer covered if I'm not out of that subscription. So you can create as much as you want in the context of the time you have under your subscription. And as long as it's posted in that time frame, it's clear forever, even if you're no longer a subscriber. So it's very easy for you to grab your content and create it very easily. And sound effects are the future of TikTok. We are seeing that level up of cinematic content over on TikTok, over on Instagram Reels, and even on YouTube, which has been for a long time, which I talk about in other videos. If you want to talk a little bit more about how the social platforms are leveling up, head over to youtube.com/KMRobinson. I have dedicated videos on what's happening right now, the shifts and changes we're seeing in content creation that you do not want to miss out on because you will get left behind. And you want to make sure that you're leveling up. And so having those sound effects, having that music to use in the different elements of your ads, of your content you're putting out on social media, of the things that you are creating to build up your brand is really, really helpful. They do have an integration for Adobe Premiere. So if you are somebody who is using a leveled up version of video editing, it's really easy to just drag and drop it in. You don't have to do a ton of extra work. It is so helpful. And I have videos again on the main channel on that. But being able to then use those assets is really helpful, and their creators get paid. So they outright pay their artists for that content, and then you get to use it in the terms of your subscription with the Epidemic Sound. I love it. I love it. I use it all the time. I have other programs that I work with that have like music and sound effects, but I don't use that. I use Epidemic Sound. I pay for that on top of some of these other things because it is so well created, because they are very ethical with how they are creating these things, and they have a wide variety as well. They're very, very good about figuring out moods and different types of content and different types of sounds and sound effects and music that you can have out there. And there's instrumental, there's vocal, there's all sorts of things. And it sounds very trendy. They may not be like Katy Perry, Taylor Swift, because that would be extremely expensive to license. And you're not allowed to use that on TikTok or YouTube because you're marketing your book. That's commercial use and you can get sued for that. So you have to, if you want to be using music on social media, you have to use the commercial use library inside of TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, or you have to use something like Epidemic Sound so that you don't get sued. So Epidemic Sound is really, really helpful. I very much like them, and I have tutorials. I'll link them for you to see if it's a good fit for you, but I cannot say enough good things about it. Now, another one that is really helpful for me is Artbreeder. Now, before we panic, let me break this one down for you. Artbreeder is an AI art generator. Now, we are using this to create the faces of our characters. So if you have a subscription to Artbreeder, what I do, how I use it, is as I'm writing, as I start to kind of give a description for my characters, or even before I describe my characters, I am creating their faces. So their hairstyles, their eye color, so I don't keep forgetting any injuries on them. I'm kind of creating if they're more happy or if they're more stern, or like I'm getting a visual representation. These pieces of art are used in a couple of different ways for me. I use these in the corner of my screen so I can visually look at them while I'm writing. So I have that there, and it's all unique, it's all uniform, so that it all looks visually representative of my novel. So I have it to write. I also have this as a visual representation on my website for people who are creating me fan art or character art that I'm commissioning. So this is really, I'm using this to create the faces. I'm not using this to create the big imagery of my characters that you see all over my social media and all over my website. This way, my artists that I hire have that visual to look at and see, oh, okay, so this is the jawline, this is the nose, this is like the eyes, and they create their own representations of it. But it also allows my fans to be able to have an indicator of what those characters are visually going to look like so they can create their fan art as well. Also help for cosplayers to kind of know what the vibe is there. So I am using this not to replace humans, but to create that initial visual as a reference point for then everybody who is connected to it, so that when I hire out that art, or when I have fans coming to do fan art or cosplays or whatever, I have that. And I want to make sure that I have that visual representation while I'm writing, because when I'm hiring the commissioned art from artists, I want it the big, bold scenes, lots of like costumes and all the stuff. And I don't know that until I've written the novel. So this is my visual representation during the novel writing process. And then I can move to the big, grand art that you're seeing on posters and you're seeing inside of the book and all those places with human involvement with it. So Artbreeder is really fun for me to be able to kind of just have that staple visual representation to then do all the other cool commissioned art. And then I am also using a program called Incarnate. Incarnate is for my map creation. And this is where I can go in and visually design a map to go with my books, or to go with the kingdoms in my books, or the different scenes, or the different settings, or the rooms in the house. It's drag and drop. All I have to do is drag in those elements. I can paint on kind of landforms and things like that. And it's very easy for me to do different styles of maps that I am creating to allow me to put it on my website, on my social media as bonus content for people who are inside of my novels, which is so incredibly helpful and allows you to be unique. And so you can go in and you can create your own versions of this to enhance what you are creating. And boy, you can make such good money if you're selling maps, or if you're adding maps into your book. You can get more sales because people love those visual representations of the kingdoms and the worlds that you are creating, or the spaces that you're creating inside of your novels. Incarnate is really, really good and very cheap to use, by the way. We like it. And so that is just a very easy way for you to elevate the graphics and the interior graphics of your novel, of your website, of your social media, all of those things. And having that is also very helpful for writing your novel so that you're getting people in the right directions, in the right places, and all of the things to make sure you don't have plot holes, errors, or people running in the wrong direction. Those are my 5 biggest subscriptions right now as an author. I've been with these things for many years, and I really love how we can use it to help elevate our businesses and make more money and make our lives easier. So it's very, very simple for us to then be able to use those things to help the professionals that are working with us to know what we're talking about, to help our interior designers to not have to do as much work, to make sure everything is easily to our liking, and to automate our businesses and send our customers through funnels and systems so that it does so much of the work for us without us having to touch it. We set it up once, we forget it, and then we check in every once in a while to make sure everything's still good or update when needed. Making your life as an author simpler, easier, and more profitable doesn't have to be a stressful thing. It doesn't have to take a ton of time and effort. I created a business, an author life business, that functions as if I had an entire paid team working on stuff for me, and I do it all by myself without having to pay a bunch of extra people or hoping that they get the thing done right. I do it myself to my standard to make sure it is the way that I want, and then I let it run on its own. I love my automations. You know I love my automations. There's actually an automation I love. I'm not using it right now in my business, but it revolutionized my business and my ability to run my business and to get noticed by giant groups like Facebook. Facebook interviewed me for a spotlight with one of the automations that I used back at the beginning of my career, and I've told the story again and again and again. But automating and systematizing your business takes so much of the work and removes so much of the human error to allow you to live your best life while also living out your author dreams. So follow along for daily videos on how to navigate the world of author life to help you be more profitable. Drop your questions on these down below. And if you want more tutorials on these, go ahead and let me know. I will show you more how to do these things. I've actually done tutorials on most of these between this YouTube channel and my other YouTube channel, so it is definitely a good idea to check there first. But ask questions. I'll drop links if I have them, and I'll make new videos if you need them, because I'm here to help you make this a profitable life as an author. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.